So good morning. My name is Maren Turner, and I'm the State Director for AARP Kansas. Welcome to our Facebook chat. I'm sitting in for Andy Bozarth this week, and she'll be back next week. So we're looking forward to that. Today, we're talking about romance scams with Valentine's Day just around the corner. Lots of people are thinking about romance and it's in the air, but unfortunately, there are scamsters out there waiting to take advantage of people who just want to make a connection with another human being. So we're very happy today to have with us Rick Gibson. He is our lead volunteer who's going to talk to us about fraud and how we can protect ourselves from romance scam. Because one of the really bad things about romance scams is not only does it take your money, but it just also devastates your emotions. So welcome, Rick.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Good morning. We are just so happy that you're here and willing to share your expertise to help people have a very safe Valentine's Day. So can you just talk to us a little bit about, what people are seeing these days when it comes to romance scams?
Well, it's really as broad as it is wide. There are so many different ways that scammers can scam you. And I think a lot of people think it might be a little unusual to talk about people over 50 and a romance scam. I have been asked before, did you say romance scam? They thought maybe I was talking about some other subject. But the fact of the matter is that that the dating websites and the mobile apps and all the things that have proliferated since the late 90s have attracted more than 65% of the single population, and I suspect maybe even a few of the married population are at least looking at these websites. And when you get caught up, swept up into a romance scam, it sometimes takes hold of you and you can't let go. It just seems that everything is so good about this. Everything is so pleasant about this. At last, you've made a connection with the person. So you start doing things that are not likely that you would do these things under some other condition. Here's an example. There is a lady, this is a true to life example, a lady who saw popped up on a popular website, the little icon loves hiking. It was just the thing that said loves hiking, and she clicked on it, and there was a really handsome man who was telling all the outdoor things he loved to do and all the stuff that he liked to do, and he persuaded her without much effort to click on that link about him and to have a conversation with him. And it was an innocent enough conversation to begin with. But in a very short time, he started saying things like, well, I've learned to really like you and our method together, and I just wonder if maybe we could meet somewhere. And they met at a restaurant, and he paid the bill, and everything seemed really pleasant. Over time, through usually internet connections, they developed a deep friendship, and it even went beyond friendship. She really felt like she had found a love. But he started saying, there's something wrong with my bank account. Every time I deposit my veterans benefits, I get all these, my bank account gets frozen for a certain period of time, and I just don't have any money. I need to take care of that, but my bank is an hour away. She said, well, maybe maybe we could go there to your bank and we could resolve this. And he said, no, I don't want to bother you with that, but I do need to go there. However, could you lend me $100 so that I could get there and back? And she said, yeah, sure, no problem. She gave him $100 cash. And then he said, I'm having a lot of trouble with my car. I don't really trust it that much. Would it be possible to borrow your car? And she
Yeah.
said, well, it's a brand new car, but yeah, okay. I mean, to run to the bank and back, it's not that big a deal. And he said, I might need to borrow your credit card.
Oh.
Well, you can guess what happened. He took the credit card, the $100. She never saw him again. She really, really was disappointed in this, and as anyone would be, but it's very, very likely that all of the websites and apps and that sort of thing that are for people to meet people have the scammers are thick on those websites, looking for people, mining all the different operations they could make. And it seems a shame that something meant to do so much good, to connect people who are lonely, people who don't have any kind of a connection with the outside world, especially during COVID times, finally find someone, and that connection is deep and that connection is strong, and it's really a scam.
It's really, it's really sad. And isn't that how it quite often happens? You meet this person online and he's just beautiful or she's just great. And you feel like you finally made a connection only to find out that not only have you lost your money, but possibly your card, possibly your dignity. And that's what makes this kind of scam so devastating. We got the bad news that Kansas leads the country. At least it led the country in 2020 when it comes to identity theft, and these imposter scams and romance scams are like at the top. And so we're hoping that people who are watching today will ask a question, because this is a really devastating scam. We want to make sure that you have the tips and the answers that you need to protect yourself. So let us know that you're here. Say hello in the chat box or ask a question. We want to hear from you. So, Rick, can you tell us a little bit more about what the typical victim is like? Is there a particular gender or age group?
Well, interestingly enough, that people over 50 represent the fastest growing share of users of these sites and these apps. It seems that of all the people that visit dating apps and sites that are meant for people to meet people, it's the elderly that frequent them the most. And it's also the elderly that are trapped the most. In 2019, which is the latest figures I could find anything on, the median individual loss for people who get scammed on these sites was $2,600. That's quite a bit of money. However, for people over 70, it was $10,000. The median amount was $10,000. Once we get to a certain age and we do make a connection with someone and we feel that it's very real, we are caring people. We like to be helpful. We want to be warm and compassionate, and especially those that we love. We want to take care of them and protect them. So it's very, very easy for people to take advantage of us. And people take advantage every day in the thousands of dollars before we realize that we've been scammed.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just started to say there are some warning signs that you really need to look for. And the very first, most primary warning sign is never, ever give anyone money or things, especially if you haven't met them and you've developed a long-term relationship that hasn't turned sour. So you don't want to give money or things to people that you met only a few weeks ago, but they've been so very kind to you. That's the very first thing. There are other things you need to look for, but I would say if I could name only one thing that you should do, I would name don't give them money. And quite often they'll ask for money either in cash or as gift cards. Quite often they'll ask for money before you've ever met them face to face.
Mm-hmm.
They just befriend you, they send you texts, they send you emails, they go on Facebook with you, but they rarely meet you in person. The story that we talked about a little earlier, his meeting her in person and persuading her was really unusual in that most of the time they say something like, I'm in the military and I'm overseas and I really can't get to you, but I really want to. I've been injured in an accident. I'm in the hospital. I can't get to you, but as soon as I get out of here, there are all kinds of excuses for not being able to get with you. And that's another warning sign. If they never ever meet with you, it's a warning sign. If they have a beautiful picture posted on the web, someone who looks more like a catalog fashion model than
Yeah.
an ordinary person,
Right.
warning sign. It's probably a fake identity of a sort. If they promise to meet you over and over, especially the promise is tied to some request for money, that's a warning sign. It is so easy to disguise ourselves on the internet that it's very, very easy for us to be duped into believing that we've really found someone.
And one of the insidious things about these romance scams, and you find it with other scams too, is that the scamsters will continue to milk you for money until you put a stop to it. They'll just keep coming back and back. They may start out with $100. Next thing you know, they're asking for, well, just maybe $300, and then it just keeps growing until you figure out, wait a minute, something doesn't smell right here. And so that's one of the sad things. And like I said earlier, it's not just your money that you've lost; it's your pride, it's your dignity,
Right.
It's your faith in
Right.
love and romance, and that makes it really sad. So these as you said, these scams cost Americans millions of dollars, thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, and so we hope that people will ask questions today, so you'll know how to protect yourself. So Rick, once you've been a victim of these romance scams, I mean, what can you do about it? If you give cash, you're probably not going to get that back, but what can you do?
Well, you're probably not going to get anything back, and holding out hope for getting a return on your investment is useless. The very first thing you do is to notify the police. You have to notify the police that you've been scammed. They're going to tell you, well, there's nothing we can really do about that, but they do need to know it, and they do need to at least have a record that this person or persons have been reported. If they're reported enough times and the record is made, there's a much better chance that they'll get caught at it and have to have some kind of retribution. There won't be any money back for you, but something will happen. The second thing that I would do right after I called the police is there is a number scrolling across the bottom of the screen, 877-908-3360. That's to the AARP Fraud Watch Network. They do keep a copy of every single scam that's happened, no matter how bad or how small. If you've been scammed, that should be reported to them. If you're a victim, they should know about it. And they keep a data bank of what kinds of scams are going on. What are people trying to pull? What are people doing that we can possibly stop if we know enough about how it's done, where it's done, what's going on. Right now, they could tell you that second only to COVID scams, there are romance scams going on. Now, it seems a little strange that romance scams, especially for older adults, are so frequent, but they're the second most reported scam. COVID scams are the first, and that's probably temporary. I use temporary in the long sense, but that
Right.
probably won't last forever. And
We
then I
hope not.
think romance scams will be number one.
Yeah, and there could be somewhat of a connection there, although romance scams have been around for forever. But with more and more people staying home and wanting that human connection and just reaching out and hoping that they get it online, that this is particularly devastating. So, as you mentioned, there is a number that is scrolling at the bottom of the screen, and we invite you to call that if you want to know more about the AARP Fraud Watch Network, or if you want to report a scam, or if you just have a question about whether or not you've been scammed. But Rick, can you just tell us a little bit about the Fraud Watch Network, how it works?
Well, Fraud Watch Network is a national concern. It's AARP national. They have all kinds of scam warnings. You can sign up to receive texts on scams that are going on in your area right now. You can read about, you can take a seminar about, you can do, there's just very little that you cannot do when it comes to fraud and scams. There is a mountain of information. No one could ever get through all of it at the website that's below, aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. If you were to go to that website, you would see all the latest information. There are some 200 and something different types of scams that are very prevalent right now. You can call them for more information. It's just endless what you can do. But the whole purpose of Fraud Watch Network is to make people aware of fraud and to make people know what to do if you are scammed in some way.
Very, very good. Very good website. And in addition to calling the Fraud Watch Network, you are available, as well as other volunteers, to come out to groups, at least virtually right now, to talk about Fraud Watch and how you can protect yourself. And so, people can dial our office or connect with us on our website to find out more information on how they can get to have Rick Gibson provide a presentation on fraud and get their questions answered. Another place that you can go to look for fraud information if you want to report it is to the FBI, and you can go to their website at that's the letter I, C as in cat, 3.gov, and that they have a complaint center there as well. As we're talking about scams, sometimes people feel like, I'm a very educated person, and, I think I could spot a scam a mile away, and it can't happen to me. And, I think there's a false sense of security as well. If you are on a website and let's say you make the first move, and so you feel like, well, this person couldn't have been perhaps trying to scam me because I made the first move. But aren't these sort of false? Don't you think these sort of give people a false sense of protection against fraud, thinking that they're so educated or they made the first move?
Yeah, I think false is an excellent word to describe that situation. If you feel that because you did make the first move, that no one contacted you, you were the one who contacted the person originally. If you feel a lot more secure in that, that's a real false sense of security. The scammers are so thick on these websites and on these apps that they just troll all the time. Is there someone who might be attracted to my screen name? Is there someone who might like my logo? Is there someone who might be attracted by my picture? And I won't have to contact them. They will contact me. It's like phishing. And people who do make the contacts sometimes feel so confident that the scammer can move even faster because they feel like, hey, this has got to be real. I'm the one who called him. He didn't contact me in the first place, or I'm the one who called her. There are female scammers out there, by the way. And that's a real false sense of security.
Yeah, you mentioned pictures a couple of times, and I think it's really good advice that if the picture looks like a movie star, or they have these, these chiseled looks, and it's just, flawless pictures, and for sure it doesn't look like something that someone may have snapped, you should be very suspicious. But there's a way you can go on Google and find out if that picture is being used someplace else, and that helps you to know that, oh, wait a minute, this is not a real person.
Right. When you use Google, if you go to the images section, you can compare the pictures that are on the images section of people to the picture that's online. And it's fairly easy to do. And if you make that comparison and find that picture is not the name that you thought it was, or is not the person that you thought it was, it is a model or a movie star or someone that you didn't realize was that person, I think I'd cut off that relationship really fast. That's one of the things that you can do. There are several things that you should do, some things that you can do, and some things that you really should not do. And I talked about what you should not do mostly is send money. You should
Right.
never share any kind of money. But the things that you should do is take it slowly. Don't let somebody push you into a relationship just because you're ready for one. Take it slowly. Let things happen over time. Check on the photo. That's a pretty easy thing to do. Be wary of a string of flirtatious or really complimentary texts and kind of any communication, Facebook, text, email. The other thing is, don't hold off on cutting off contact when you get suspicious. When you first get suspicious, it's sometimes, well, I'm going to give this a little more time and see. Maybe that photo didn't match because he's embarrassed about something about the way he looks. I'm going to give him one more chance. We're pretty generous in that way. Don't do it. If you get suspicious at all, cut it off immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say always notify the dating site or the app that the scammer appears on. If you are in the middle of a scam of some kind, you want to be sure that you let the website know or the app know that that person was there. We have a couple of comments on the screen. One is, this is very helpful. I'm glad for that. I hope it is helpful.
We do.
We also have, do you have the comments on your screen as well?
Yes, I'm able to see them now. And so there's a question. Is there another reporting site for scams involving persons posting as military personnel serving overseas?
I'm sure there may be, but I would guess that the Fraud Watch network site is, that's where I would report it. That's where I would report anything, whether it's military or whatever. There may be other websites. I'm just not aware of them.
Yes, I think you're right. If you go to the Fraud Watch Network, you can call, or you can just go online, and that is really a no wrong door. You go there and you should be able to get what you need to protect yourself. And so there is somebody here asking for an email address for you, Rick. So he says that my nephew is a cybersecurity expert in Hayes and has a website that deals with the subjects that you're talking about, but he wants to know, how do people get in touch with you so that you can come out, at least virtually for now, come out and talk to their groups?
Yeah, that it's pretty easy, really. It's Rick Gibson, all one word, Rick Gibson, 1022. And by the way, 1022 is my birthday, in case you're thinking of some shopping or something like that you'd like to do. It's Rick Gibson 1022 at gmail.com.
Okay, very good. All right. So again, we have some more comments in the chat box that pretty much people are saying, thanks. This is really good information, and we have posted your email address in the chat box in case somebody was not able to write that down. So
Good.
we still have a few more minutes if people want to ask questions. So sometimes when people are online and they're talking to someone and they think they've made a connection, that person tries to quickly move them into, say, an email situation or a private chat. And so what goes on when a person is trying to move you into, say, something that is less open to the public, but they can still talk to you because, oh, they're so enamored with you and they just want to get to know you better?
Well, I can't predict for you what goes on because I know it's a wide variety of things once they get you moved. But I can suggest that if somebody is really quick to try to move you off of the public site into something more private, that's a clear sign. That's a clear danger sign. As I said before, one of the things you should always do is to take it very slowly. Be be very, very cautious. It's easy for us to be overly friendly and overly cooperative with other people, but you really need to be very, very slow and very purposeful in your approach. If you do decide eventually, it should take a while, but if you do decide to go to a more private site, something like WhatsApp uh, or Skype or something like that, watch carefully that you're not moving toward being duped. I mean, it's easy once you get one-on-one with a person to just take everything in for whatever it looks like and to become a victim. And I know I sound paranoid. I know I sound like,
You don't.
everything's a scam, but you really, really, especially in today's age, need to be cautious. You need to be overly cautious. And if this person is serious in his or her intent, and if they truly have formed the same connection that you have formed, it'll show. It'll show through. It'll last. But if they move you to a site and start hinting that they could come and see you if only they had a little more money, if only they could afford the plane ticket, if only they could, there you have a danger sign. And I'd say, don't even get yourself in that spot until later when you really feel that you know the person.
Take your time. That's the message that you're giving us. And I also like that you've said several times that, this is an equal opportunity sort of scam where not only are men out there as predators, but also women are out there as predators. So you have to be really careful. And there's nothing paranoid about being careful with your heart and with your money. So thank you. So we still have a few more minutes, maybe one or two. People have some comments or questions, and people are saying in the chat box that again that this is a really great program and that they appreciate that AARP is out there, trying to help protect people. I know that you mentioned the fact that you can go on Google and you can search a person's picture to see if maybe this is a movie star or somebody else. But there are also ways you can type in certain phrases into your engine search and find out whether or not these phrases show up on one of those sites that are designed to help you protect yourself.
That's right. And, there are only so many romantic type words and terms that a person is likely to use when they're duping you. And they're going to run multiple romantic scams at the same time. It's not just you that they're scamming. It's usually 3 or 4 or 5 yous that they're scamming. And they're using the same language with each one of those. If you should find this same language repeated again and again, there's another danger signal right there, is that someone is inappropriate in the words that they're using with a lot of different people instead of with a single person that they have a connection with.
There's just so much information that you have to give to people to help protect themselves. And so we are hoping that people will, number one, reach out. We have your email information in the chat box. We also have the number for the Fraud Watch Network, and we encourage people to call that number if you have a question or if you want to report a scam, or log on to the website and to see which scams are in your area. So with that, we're gonna have to say goodbye for now, Rick. But it's been a pleasure having you today, and we hope that people will join us again next week. And Andy will be back next week, so we're looking forward to that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you.